Welcome to today's Lunchtime Talk. We're delighted to see so many of you joining us live. The approaching end of life for Confluence Data Center is clearly a highly relevant topic. We look forward to valuable insights and an engaging discussion on this subject with Tom Raab, Head of Sales, and Tyler Mellon, Sales Agent at the Hallo Welt GmbH. And with that, I'll hand over to my colleagues. Enjoy the talk.
All right. Thank you, Avi. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for attending. My name, once again, is Tyler Mellon. I am a sales agent here at BlueSpice. And today, what I want to do is talk to you about BlueSpice as a successor to Confluence. So to get started, I want to talk about a pressing issue. Atlassian made the decision not too long ago to discontinue the Confluence Data Center, and how BlueSpice is the perfect successor to meet your needs. So as many of you have heard, Atlassian is ending all support for its data center. Coming up, you can see some of the different dates here. Starting just in a couple of weeks, no more new data center apps will be in the Atlassian marketplace. And then all the way by the end of March 30th, 2026, no new licenses for the Confluence data center will be available. So what does that mean? So roughly 40% of Confluence user base needs to either switch to the cloud or find an alternative. And given the timeline, it's time to act now to figure out your migration plan. And that's what we're going to be discussing here today. So these changes raise a lot of big challenges for companies right now that are using Confluence Data Center. So first, you have vendor lock-in. So staying with Confluence, you're staying with a proprietary cloud-centric platform that's going to limit your flexibility and your bargaining power. You're going to be dependent on Atlassian's roadmap and, unfortunately, their pricing as well. So second, there's the issue of data sovereignty. So moving to Atlassian Cloud means your company's knowledge lives on their servers that you don't control. In practice, there are many sensitive industries like government and healthcare and finance and critical infrastructure that simply cannot hand off their knowledge base to an external cloud without major compliance hurdles. Another issue is cost. Atlassian's cloud licensing can get very expensive. In fact, analysts predict that an existing Confluence data center deployment to Atlassian's cloud can increase by up to 50% per year in many cases. So as we look at all these challenges here on the slide, like lock-in, rising costs, loss of control, there's a broader theme that keeps coming up. More and more organizations are realizing that true independence starts with deciding for themselves how their data is going to be stored and how it's going to be managed. So I think that idea is captured here perfectly in this quote, and that's exactly where BlueSpice comes in. So here you see a simple but powerful idea that sits really at the center of this entire discussion that we're having today. So digital sovereignty means being able to decide for yourself how and where your data is stored. And that principle is exactly why BlueSpice exists, because we want to give organizations full control instead of forcing them into someone else's ecosystem. Now, let me take a step back and introduce you to a little bit about who we are and what BlueSpice actually provides. So BlueSpice is a leading open source solution in the enterprise wiki space, and it's designed to help organizations centralize their knowledge, structure processes clearly, and through all of that, retain full data sovereignty. So that means whether you run on-premise or in the private cloud, your data is your data. On the right side, you see the team behind the platform. Hello Welt was founded in 2007 to make Wikipedia technologies essentially accessible for the business environment. So we are a group of more than 40 product-based experts. Together, we support over 700 customers worldwide, and you can see some of those at the bottom of the slide here. And BlueSpice itself is built on MediaWiki here. That's the same open source engine that powers Wikipedia. and it extends specifically for professional and enterprise use. So with BlueSpice, you're getting the power of MediaWiki, but transformed into a secure and scalable and fully enterprise-ready platform. So quickly, BlueSpice in a nutshell. It was developed in Germany, but it's been downloaded over 1 million times across 160 different countries. It supports 25 plus languages, contains over 180 extensions or expansions to MediaWiki, and most importantly, it has a 35% lower operating costs when compared to Confluence. So now let's walk through exactly what BlueSpice itself delivers. So BlueSpice is 100% open source. It is GDPR compliant and fully audit ready. You can run it where you want. That means in your own data center, in a private cloud, or a managed environment. It's also flexible, expandable, and designed for integration within your own IT ecosystem. But what makes BlueSpice especially appealing is that it's built for teams and it's built for collaboration. It supports things like simultaneous editing, powerful rights management. It has a user-friendly interface that anyone can learn quickly. It includes things like workflows, approvals, metadata, forms, visual processing models with both BPMN and Draw.io. And most importantly, it has an enterprise search that's going to allow you to find knowledge fast. It's also scalable. You can run BlueSpice as a single instance or as a multi-instance farm environment. That means you can spin up separate wikis for individual departments. For instance, you can have a wiki for HR, you can have a wiki for sales, for logistics, for customer management. But this is while still maintaining everything centrally. So this is ideal for larger organizations or for anyone who needs isolation between different business units or departments within the organization. Most importantly, BlueSpice is AI ready. It includes AI assisted search, chatbot functions, and the ability to extend knowledge retrieval using different LLMs. So this makes your documentation both smarter and more searchable. Now to deployment. BlueSpice works in a container-based environment and supports clustering for high availability. You can scale horizontally with load balancers, and you can also internalize your database, storage, and search components. So in essence, it's a modern architecture that's designed for long-term growth. Most importantly, though, with BlueSpice, everything you need comes directly out of the box. So your workflows, your quality management tools, your advanced search, your PDF export, etc. You don't have to rely on a marketplace or buy extra apps like in Confluence. You get the full feature set directly out of the box and fully supported from day one. Now let's take a quick look at the user experience. So with BlueSpice, finding knowledge is extremely straightforward. The platform's designed to be easy to use and navigate. So even new users will feel comfortable right away. Teams can also work in their own subwikis while still benefiting, once again, from a centralized structure that keeps everything connected. And with AI-supported search and assistance, users can find answers to their questions faster. It can suggest relevant content instantly, and overall, it's going to simplify their daily work. If you want to try BlueSpice out yourself, we have an open demo that's available on our website where users can go to try out some of the features that I've discussed today and make sure it's the right fit for your organization. Just simply go to bluespice.com, and on our landing page, you'll see a button for click demo. So now shifting gears a little bit, what I want to do is talk about a few practical examples of what we're doing with customers in terms of supporting them with BlueSpice. So for the first, we have the Federal Ministry for Education and Research. They created an online handbook for guidelines for funding including startup companies, procurement regulations, and project rules that's accessible to both their internal staff, but also to external project sponsors. And what's really cool about it is supported directly by an integrated AI chatbot that's going to help employees quickly find the right information, navigate these complex rules, and get answers without searching through dozens and dozens of pages. It's also important to note that it is compliant and it's entirely contained within a secure infrastructure, showing really how AI can be meaningfully support knowledge work without sacrificing data. A little side note as well, next week we have a lunchtime talk where my colleague Verena will be going through the new features of 5.2 and specifically talking about some of these AI features in more depth. If you're interested, you can go to our website where you can sign up. Next, I want to talk about work we did for an industrial baker called Bäckerei Möbius. BlueSpice here is supporting its production team directly on the bakery floor in a pretty cool way. So what you're seeing on the slide here is a machine handbook that was essentially brought to life with an integrated chatbot that's going to help workers troubleshoot issues in real time. So whether it's an error message or a parameter check or some kind of adjustment they need to make, they can go to the chatbot and find an answer quickly. So this project was actually so successful that it won the Saxon Transfer Prize in 2025, so earlier this year, and that's given to an innovative idea that provides some kind of transformation from a research project into a practical industrial application. All right, so with that, I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Tom.
So also warm welcome from my side. We talk about Confluence migration and to understand how we migrate and in what way we do it, we have to introduce you to some technical overview and architecture. It's not really a deep dive, but it's quite important to understand why we do and what we can do and where everything works. The most comparable topic is the BlueSpice farm to Confluence. Confluence have spaces. We also have spaces. We have so-called namespaces. They're inside one wiki instance. But if we think in bigger scenarios, the BlueSpice farm would be the right choice because there's a central knowledge base wiki and there are separate independent instances after that. So you see the wiki 1, the wiki 2, the wiki 3, the wiki 4. They're really separate instance, and you can have an own AD all the topic. You can create some nameships and teams, so you can have silos close. But also it's makeable to do an interwiki search and to direct link it from one wiki to the other wiki. So it's quite similar to the system of the spaces. One topic is also quite cool because if we thinking together about how to structure it, it could be a safety plus because we can share the database. So you don't have to use one database like at the Confluence setup. So when we jump now into the view, what is one wiki? One wiki have namespaces. In these namespaces, you can create pages and subpages. You have also categories. You have you can tag it, you can sort it, and you can create books with every side on namespace. You can say, okay, you belongs to book 1, you belongs to book 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can create own views for your customers, for your teams, for everyone you want, and you can handle it with a right and rules and a user group management system. So you can say, John Doe can read only in Wiki 1 and he can editing in Wiki 2 and he's the administrator in Wiki 3. and all rules are connected to your AD. So you can push it, and BlueSpice can take it, and also they activate it, so it's fully integratable in your infrastructure. So let's jump one step deeper. BlueSpice is delivered in container and consists of several services. So the front-end container we see in the middle is scalable. There are the different wikis, there's the API, there are the resources. You can scalable. Also the task runner container on the right side will be scalable soon. So if you distribute the system in Kubernetes, auto-scaling would also be fine. So on this point, we're talking about infrastructure and building high and big systems. In this context, it's also makeable to do some topics of geo-hosting, about replicas, and so on. So everything you see is doable in a container and can be scalable or a scale. That's enough on the technical side. To go deeper, we have specialists in the house, which you can talk later. So now the main topic, it's the Confluence migration process. We call it process because it's not a one-click thing you do. It's a known project. When you're thinking about a project, we always have three phases. We have the analyze phase, we have the planning phase, and we have the implementation phase. At the start, for a Confluence migration, we do a so-called test migration and an evaluation of the functions. So we have a way to migrate in the script based. The script is also open source, like every function, and it's public. You can find it in the internet, and there's a macro checker. I'll show it later in the next slide. And you just copy and paste all the third-party apps from Confluence inside and run it. Then you have a first indication, okay, how many percent of my macros are still migratable and are not migratable. If we're talking about migration, we always have to have a look on two sides. We have the content migration and we have a functional migration. So the functionality is the macros are re-implemented or we find a functional equivalent. In the migration there is always an opportunity to restructure content. So to migrate the content isn't so hard. There's an XML file which is exported. Our scripts will translate the XML into the wiki text. That's the language of MediaWiki, and we get all of the content migrated. And if you want to have special apps, we have to have a look together. That's the specification calls, because macros have several functions, and maybe you only need one part of this, and we have some equivalent on the other side on us. So in the analysis, we're talking about, okay, what is your system? What macros do you use? Are they migratable right now, straightforward, or do we have to do some specification to clarify what functionality you want? On the planning phase, we talk all about the infrastructure. That's how big your company is. That's how big your Confluence migration will be. It's talking about shared systems like that, all the data bank topics. Some customers ask us which database can be used currently, MySQL or MariaDB. But we also think about Postgres, and we're testing some stuff internally. We can sure say Microsoft and Oracle are no longer available. They are not supported right now, or will be supported also in the future. So if there's the migration plan, we have the specification on the functions. We can close the planning phase. Also, the topic about APIs or interfaces, proof of concept. If you're looking for an Jira alternative, we have know-how inside the house for other project tools to build this interfaces. If it's Redmine based, no worries, no problems. Come to us also to all other open source. So after the planning, now the implementation starts. We set up a migration system for you. All data will be migrated like the plan, maybe in phases or something like that. It's quite important to talk about that because when you migrate, all links will also be migrated. That's no problem, but you have to be aware the external links are there and the internal links are only an ID. So we can map the ID, we can create the links, but we have to have a roadmap how we migrate. The best way is to say, okay, we migrate everything because the persistence of the link will be available. If there's in some cases are broken links, so our tool, which I show you on the next slide, give you also some fault hints. So the macro checker I told, it's directly under this link. You can find it on our website, and it's just mentioned it. It's script-based and is standard-sized. So with every migration, we did the last 6-7 years, the script becomes better and better. So to give you some picture of the tool or the steps on the website, step 1, you have to open your Confluence, then you find an overview. You can copy and paste all the used macros. Very important. There's a number behind and it's called the usage. So we can allocate in a later meeting. So if the macro is quite important to import or not. So I missed one slide, but it's no problem. There's the green one on this. The green one shows you in a later state, okay, how much of the macros are available. We have 3 colors. Green is it's fully migratable. The yellow one is to talk about, okay, maybe there are only 80% of the functionality right now built, and there's a gray one. The gray one says, okay, there's no migration chance right now, but we can talk and build or rebuild this macro and this functionality for you. So for Jira tickets, for example, the link are retained, but if you do queries, it wouldn't work, but this displayed as broken macros, and that's what's our migration tool also do. They give you the hints. If there are broken links, if there are things that are missed, there's a tag, it's called broken links, and you can sort and filter it. And then you can choose if you would do it in a reductional way to fix it, editorial way to fix it, or if we have to do it with our migration tool. So that's important to talk about the way. And the last big migration we did was about 100,000 user. Take about 6 to 12 months. It all depends about the project management. So let's start now talking. And I wish you that you come in touch with us to talk about your personal situation. Also, to give you some insights about the market position and the return on invest, Tyler mentioned in the beginning, all apps, all functions are out of the box. And here's the slide. The operation costs are low. The return on investment for migration depends on the size. Could be in 2 to 4 years. You see here 3 lines. The red line is the Confluence Data Center with all the apps to compare it with the BlueSpice farm, which out of the box. And it's a factor of 3 to 4.5, which we are cheaper. So also to give you an overview of the market positioning in the whole world of the wikis and knowledge bases, we have 2 axes, and this X shows the functionality. We're right close to Confluence. But if you think you can migrate it 101 or 1-to-1, it never works. It's a project, and we can get 95% or 99%. We have to talk what functionality you need, if you need all spaces, what we would restructure, and so on. And on the right side, you see the mix of open source about the pricing, and we have a really good position in this market. So in a nutshell, to compare it, you got the slide. We have the accessibility. It's quite important for us, also for the governance one. We are open source. The integration and the extensibility is quite high. You get it in a Docker. You can move everywhere on your on-prem, on your private cloud, wherever you want. And don't forget this MediaWiki behind. A really, really big company with or a foundation with developers. So if you want buy us the procedurement, we have several partners. You can order by us, or you can go to the partners directly. Also to show some use cases or clients and success stories, we have in Germany the ITZ Bund. He's the host for the ministries in Germany. We have the airport Munich, we have Tenet and Terranet. On the energy-based sector, we have also the Fraunhofer one. We have very much big companies also on the Confluence migration. So that's the end of our lunchtime presentation. If you have questions, please ask. We have 2 minutes left. If there are no questions, we say have a good afternoon.